Fast.
Oh. But I'm not hungry. Have this.
Got big guys.
I find that when you're sharing a meal with others, it's not only the food that's being shared, it's also stories being passed down, tales being told, and days being spoken about. I find this to be very important, as verbal stories are easily lost throughout history because they are tethered to living people rather than physical objects. Throughout history, a lot of verbal stories are verbal for a reason, as there was no way to physically write them down anywhere, or there needed to be someone to tell a story to invoke emotion or to convey a moral of the story. Furthermore, I find that to express a story properly, you need to have an engaging way to say it. For example, a story time, a song, and all that stuff. Those are all verbal stories that tend to be lost throughout our history because they cannot be written down, because they have no written records, so on and so forth. In addition to that, it's not only verbal stories that are being lost throughout history, it's also culture and language. For example, as someone who was born in Canada and raised in Canada as well, I don't speak Chinese very well, and I regret not learning that sooner as my parents were pushing for me to learn it. However, I just did not want to do it because I lived in a country that does not require me to speak Chinese. Now, my parents are worried that me and my future generation, for example my kids, will not be able to speak Chinese at all, and that it'll be a lost language throughout the rest of our family. To further expand on that point, there's more to cultural heritage than just tales and stories and mythology. There's also the matter of dialects and languages and regional accents, such as, for example, my parents. They both speak their own dialects of Mandarin and Mandarin itself, and since they speak dialects, they're very regional and very small, and therefore not many people speak them. And so the only people that I know can speak those dialects are my family and relatives and my parents, and that's it. I don't know anyone that's not blood related to me that can speak those dialects, which I think is quite concerning for cultural heritage. To circle back to my original point about stories being told, my mom once told me a story about the Chinese zodiacs, and I'm sure there are many renditions of it. However, the one that my mom told me, I cannot fully remember because I was told that story at a very young age, and I haven't asked my mom to retell me the story recently, so I've seemed to have forgotten a lot of the details, which is very dangerous to the preservation of cultural heritage throughout generations. To even further elaborate my points that I've stated, it's also an issue of people not being interested in the preservation of cultural history as tales and stories and dialects and languages, as a lot of the time nowadays it's not seen as something useful that we can use in our day-to-day lives or in our future, so people would rather go on their phones and go on the internet and go on social media and all that stuff. And I find that it's very detrimental to history as well. There was an article published by Historia magazine, which is titled Some Reasons Why History Gets Lost, and it touches on all the points that I've made, and it makes new points as well, such as history is very important and it should not be lost, as it can help tell a point of view of someone who has gone through a historic period, which is very famous, and it may give a deeper insight as to how people were actually feeling rather than the big hosts such as political figures and how they were seeing the situation, as it's a very different scenario when you have the first person narrative of someone who experienced a situation and was a victim of it, rather than a politician who was all cooped up in their house and seeing a historic event happening from their balcony window.
Okay, so my name is Richard, last name Wang. So I work at my dad's restaurant right now. I'm pretty much like the manager. There's a lot of things I enjoy, honestly. Like there's a few things I could dive deep into, but what I really like is kind of trying to better my dad's legacy here. This is like kind of what he built over the past 20 years. I think it's really respectable in what he's done. He still doesn't speak English, but he has an established business of 20 years. And I just want to, I've seen a lot of his journey, his struggles and everything, and I just think it was really quiet and what he used to do, and I think it's really interesting, and I like telling his story online. I like being here and being able to like a bridge to the outside world, or at least the Western world. I like being that shedding light on it.
Find that there's more to it, sharing a meal of loved ones than just the food.
Yeah, 100%. Like I can speak from an interesting point of view because my dad was here every day from my childhood. So he was like gone from 11 to 11, just here all the time. So it was mainly just me and my mom eating food. And eventually it was like she would cook and let me eat, and she would eat the leftovers, or she would eat first and I would eat the leftovers. So I can speak from it from like an absence of it, because it was like we didn't really feel like much of a family. It didn't like the it's kind of like I missed out, and I've seen a lot of families come here and eat, especially like after I started working here, and I see them using the meal as like a vehicle for like a human experience, which is just like catching up and talking. Like friends will come, families will come, they won't even eat, they'll just talk and talk about their life and catch up, and even they'll just like wait for a table, they'll talk like that. That's more important. That I feel like that's more important than the food. It's just a vehicle for the conversation. Same thing with my videos. Like I try to talk about my life and the things that I'm learning, but food is just the background. It's really just the life lessons and everything under it. So I think it's important because it's a way to bond with people. I think it's a good way to like alleviate pressure. Like whenever I meet someone to do a video collab or something or any type of business deal, I like to eat with them first and just kind of get to know them as a person, set the thing we're trying to do aside and just have a meal. Most of the times we're both hungry, and it's just a nice way to like alleviate the pressure. This is like a historical thing that's kind of well documented. Like when the Europeans came to like North America, they would break bread with the natives here, and like that's why Thanksgiving is a thing. So people come together and like eat, and then just put their differences aside and just eat the food and get not hungry. That I feel like that's like an underlying meaning of sharing food. Yeah, and there's another one too where it's like the first time meeting my grandparents, or my grandparents' extended family, and it was like my grandpa's 80th birthday. I was like 9 in China. It was a big meal with the family. It was like at a big round table, and again it was like I feel like the meaning wasn't just to eat. Like if we wanted to eat, we could just eat like whatever takeout and just eat like street food dumplings, but we want to sit at this round table and talk. That's the main thing. And you know, I talk to them about my life and all the things I want to do. The same thing, the same conversation I had like with my dad earlier about all the things I want to do in my life. And my grandparents and extended family are just very supportive and gave me a bunch of Chinese money.
After having spoken with Richard, my idea that sharing meals with others is more than just about sharing the food were solidified. And if you had to take away one thing from watching this documentary, I would say that you should take away the fact that you should sit down and have a conversation with your loved ones, family, friends, whoever, and just talk about anything, whether that be tales, mythology, stories, or even just your mundane life, your day-to-day average high school life. And last but not least, thank you for watching to the end of the video.